If this video didn't take too long to make, then it is still Pride Month, and as a pan guy, I get asked a lot what the difference is between being pan and being bi. But there kind of isn't one true answer. And I know you've got one. I can hear you typing it out in the comments right now, and I promise I'm probably going to touch on the very answer you're typing. But I'm not interested in a difference based on prescriptivist definitions of the words. The definitions you can find in whatever dictionaries or books or scholarly articles, and even if I was, I don't think I could find a decent consensus between those sources as to what exactly the difference is between these two words. No, I'm interested in how members of the queer community actively use these words, what people tend to mean when they apply these labels to themselves. If you're expecting mathematical breakdowns and statistics, I'm sorry to say, this video is staying very purely within the realm of vibes and the general gist of what my experience have been with people using these labels. Now, there are a lot of theories floating around as to what exactly the difference is, and I'm going to go through them and rank them by how much I think they really capture how people use these labels. That's right, I'm bringing tier lists back, baby! So historically, while words like pansexualism had existed for a long time in some now outdated fields of psychology, the use of words like bisexual as labels one might call themselves probably really kicked off after the popularity of Alfred Kinsey's research describing degrees of sexuality. If you've heard of the Kinsey scale, that was him. It's hard to nail down exactly how popular the terms were, but we know multiple members of the Stonewall riots in the late 60s personally identified as bisexual, so it likely started picking up traction in the queer community a good while before then. Later, as the queer community continued to develop its language, some people began using the label pansexual to emphasize that their attraction wasn't limited by gender, making a point of explicitly including trans and gender non-conforming people. Importantly, that didn't necessarily mean bisexual people were excluding those groups. People using the term pansexual just often wanted to be explicit in their inclusion of trans people and NBs. So how does this difference stack up to how we use the terms in the current day? There might be some people in the older queer community using this as their distinction, but I don't think it lines up with the younger queer communities I've been a part of. The existence of trans and non-binary people is much more forefront in the queer community. It doesn't seem like the people in my circles who use pan are doing so to be more inclusive. And most bi people actively acknowledge that they include trans people and NBs in their attraction. I'm gonna give it a D tier, not an F tier, just because I think it's plausible that maybe some communities I'm not a part of use this distinction, but I've never seen it. Now, an idea that I've heard a lot is that bi is an umbrella term for anyone with attraction to more than one gender, and that other labels like pan or omni fall under that umbrella but are more specific. So all pan people are bi, but not all bi people are pan. I think this will be my hottest take in this video, as I see this idea a lot when I'm researching, but F tier. I think this idea actively rubs against how people tend to use these terms. Like, let's say someone tells you, "I'm pansexual, by the way," and you say, "Oh, so you're bi?" Which reply do you think you're more likely to get? A, "No, I said I'm pan," or B, "Yes, specifically pan." I think you're going to hear A a whole lot more often than you're going to hear B. Also, if someone tells you they're bisexual and you respond, "Oh, what kind?" they're probably going to look at you like a third ear is growing out of your forehead. I understand that this F comes off as a bit harsh, and I'm not trying to say that this idea has no historic or academic value, but to me, words like these are, at their core, expressions of identity. So I'm very partial to the idea that academia should follow usage. Usage shouldn't follow academia, especially as any kind of enforcement of these definitions necessarily quashes the very expression that these words are for. Look, what I'm trying to say is, prescriptionists, I'll be at WWE SummerSlam 26. Fight me. Here's another idea I hear pretty often. Bi means that you have a preference for some gender. You might be more likely to be attracted to one over another. While pan, you have no preference. This one's pretty appealing because it draws a pretty neat, clear line, and we tend to like bright, clear lines when defining differences. Unfortunately here, I think a bright, clear line works a bit against the idea. I think it's inescapable that the difference between bisexual and pansexual is pretty nebulous. We're drawing coastlines with chalk here, and I think a failure to embrace that weirdness head-on leads us to use these definitions because they're clear-cut, rather than being accurate to experience. But still, I've met more than a couple pansexual people who identify as pan specifically because they do not have any kind of preference toward gender. I've also met people who identify as pan and do have preferences. It's one that I see embraced by some people who use the term, but doesn't really do a great job of capturing the group as a whole. So for this, I'm going to say B tier. On the entirely opposite side of that coin, we blur the line until it doesn't exist anymore. We just kind of throw our hands up and say, there is no difference. I cannot deny that there are people in the queer community who use these terms 100% interchangeably, but I can't fully jump on board with this idea either. I think when people say, I am pansexual, they are legitimately communicating something different than when someone says, I am bisexual. And maybe the difference is usually just based on vibes and aesthetics, but I find those to be legitimate, real differences. Like, vibes and aesthetics are things we really actually experience as people. I'll put this at the same tier as the last one, B tier. One being too strict, one being too loose. Maybe we can find a happy medium between them. Alright, so let's embrace the weirder, fuzzier definitions. What might draw you to one label over the other? I think a good place to start looking is the pride flags. Conceptually, they're pretty similar, right? 3 horizontal stripes of different colors. But aesthetically speaking, these flags are very different. The pan flag has very bright and very saturated colors, while the bi flag is more cool and muted. I think someone's personal aesthetic and preferences can very much lead them toward one term or the other, based entirely on the flag colors. A pretty common question in queer online spaces is someone asking, am I bi or am I pan? And a fairly common refrain in the replies is, just pick the flag you like better. And when I'm out at Pride and I see someone repping their bi or pan flag, the colors tend to match the rest of their aesthetic. Although, to be fair, that might just be because we're queer, and if we're going to go out with our pride flag on our back, the rest of the fit is going to match. I'm thinking too much. This is a subjective list, yada yada yada. A tier. Okay, so this is a bit of an extension of the previous idea. Let's try and refine it a bit more, okay? What kind of aesthetic is being drawn toward bisexuality, and what kind of aesthetic is being drawn toward pansexuality? Alright, I need you to hear me out here. Let me play in the space for a bit, right? Roll these ideas around in your mind, get a feel for them, okay? What kind of energy does this flag have? Don't answer that. I'll tell you, these are the colors in a dog's mind when he is careening through waist-high grass in a lush field, while the wind rolls the grain like waves through an ocean. These are high-energy puppy colors, or they would be if dogs had the same color receptors we had. Listen, I am a little out in the weeds here, but I am also objectively correct. These colors have the energy of a cat who is chilling in the same room as you, confident that their mere presence is a blessing far greater than you deserve, and they are 100% right about it. And it's not a furry thing either. Well, listen, it's about the energy you yourself exude. It's also not about which particular animal you get along with more. I have 4 cats, but I myself exude dog energy. I know this is the flag of my people. This is my home country, S tier. But I hear some people say, listen, I can't explain to my mom that I'm bi because I, from the depths of my soul, blast out cat aura like a JoJo stand. The world isn't woke enough for that. Yet. I get it. It'd also be nice to be able to have definitions that ultimately do tie back to how the kind of aesthetic we have might relate to the kind of attraction we have. Maybe if we do that, we can have the kind of definition that's relatively clear, relates to attraction, and captures the essence of the distinction between a pan kind of person and a bi kind of person really well. Alright, I'll do my best. Here we go. Okay, how about this? So, maybe as a bi person, it doesn't necessarily matter if you have a preference for one gender over another, but maybe you have a distinction in the kind of attraction you feel for people based on their gender presentation. Like maybe you like men in the I want to crush this twink in my fingers just to hear him whimper kind of way, but you like women in a I want the last thing I ever feel to be her stilettos on my neck kind of way. So the amount of attraction between genders isn't really relevant, it's that the kind of attraction you have differs based on the other person's gender identity. Meanwhile, a pan person just likes everyone they're attracted to in an all must join the board kind of way. So, to put that in other words, the kind of attraction a bisexual person feels differs based on the other person's gender expression, while for a pan person, the kind of attraction they feel for others is largely the same kind of attraction. B tier. Hey, thanks for watching. I'd like to make more long-form content about queerness and mathematics, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but you just watched a video with a Star Trek and a JoJo reference to the end. You're a nerd, and you like math. Anyway, subscribe to see more. Liking and commenting on this video helps me a ton, and check out my short series on polyamory and graph theory if that sounds like the kind of thing that might interest you.